So, it is no secret that one of the most viral use cases for crypto and Web3 rails are prediction markets. But I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I got a first look at Predict.Fun, and everything you know about prediction markets is about to change and drastically level up, both in terms of functionality and user unlocks. Let's break it down. Hey everyone, it's Jen. You already know, nothing I say is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. The highly anticipated prediction market, Predict.Fun, is now live on Blast. And a huge reason why this is so exciting is because it's the perfect product to take advantage of the native yield that is on Blast. That in itself is already a massive plus for prediction market users who would otherwise be leaving money on the table. Predict.Fun users will be able to earn this 6% yield passively and actively, which will be claimable on a weekly basis. And perhaps the most exciting thing about the native yield on Predict is the fact that you're getting yield based on the value of your positions. So let's say you have a $1,000 position on Predict. If the value of your position goes up, so does the yield you generate, and vice versa. And if you're dealing with size, this compounding yield is significant. And for those who may not know, it's not like the native yield on Blast comes from nowhere. Native yield for USDB on Blast comes from MakerDAO, and it's an auto-rebasing stablecoin. So keeping all of that in mind, let's take a look at Predict. Perhaps one of the coolest things about the way the Predict team built this app is actually this user onboarding flow. At a first glance, it looks pretty familiar to other Web3 apps that have logins via social, Google, or EOAs, but something really interesting is happening in the backend when you onboard. What Predict is doing is they're actually spinning up a smart contract wallet for your account, which allows them to do things like sponsor gas, etc. And what's magical about this is once you onboard, it doesn't really feel like you're on a blockchain at all. When you go to open up an order, you'll notice that you're not signing any signature request or annoying pop-ups. They've abstracted that entire flow from the end user experience, making it one of the most seamless ways to transact on-chain without it being so apparent in your face that you're transacting on-chain. And when you're on mobile with their PWA app, it is so smooth. There's no connecting from a wallet app, then having to switch back to the PWA app itself. There's no signature pop-ups. It's just clean. What's compelling about having a proper mobile experience like this is this idea that volume in terms of users actually comes from mobile. Like I've said before, mobile traffic continues to outpace desktop traffic. Plus, you just have the convenience of being able to adjust your positions from anywhere in the world with an absolutely seamless experience. So Predict is launching with a few curated markets. Some are mirrors of Polymarket, others are some basic crypto ones. And what's really cool is when you're on a market that's a mirror of Polymarket, you can actually reference the relative Polymarket price. Now, this opens up the opportunity for arbitrage because in an efficient market, you'd expect the prices to be relatively the same. And the way that Predict structured its order book is actually pretty slick. Liquidity here is incentivized. And the way it works is the closer you are to the spread and the tighter the spread, the more points you'll get. You'll want to be in the top 5 highest bids or lowest asks to earn points. What Predict is doing is they're issuing a fixed amount of points per day, and the point allocation to each market is relative based off of its volume compared to all the other markets that they have. So this should create pretty consolidated liquidity, which actually allows for users to bet with bigger size in either direction with minimal slippage. At least that's the idea. And what's nice about the way Predict designed their front end is you can actually see if your open orders are earning points or not. And for people like me that aren't necessarily the best at this, when placing limit orders, there's this maximize button, which will automatically put your limit price to the tightest place in the order book. And on top of that, with whatever funds you have deposited into your Predict account, not only are you earning native yield, but you can actually place limit orders up to your wallet balance across every market that they have. I think the cap is 10 active orders at a time though. Now, let's talk about bond markets. One of the ways that folks make quote unquote guaranteed money on prediction markets is by betting on markets that have a very small chance at losing, i.e. bond markets. So if we look at a bond market on Polymarket, an example is, will the US confirm that aliens exist in 2024, which has a 3% win rate? And folks will load into these markets to try to get that 3% upside. Now, if something like this was on Blast, users would be earning the 3% plus the 6% native yield, which compounds. This is another example of how having native yield on a prediction market ultimately results in positive EV. And what's crazy about bond markets is it always seems like there are people willing to take the other side of the bet because degens are gonna degen, and sometimes they do hit. So if we look at Predict's leaderboard, what's cool is the rolling 24-hour leaderboard actually has different levels of boost. The top 100 on the leaderboard will be able to stack these points in addition to the boost that they get for providing liquidity. Predict has already been awarded 870,000 Blast Gold, which will be distributed linearly to the leaderboard at the end of the month. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of competition. So if this is something that you're planning on farming for Blast Gold, you'll need to be diligent and stay on top of your trades. And if you're new to Blast, Blast Gold is what will translate to a Blast airdrop in June 2025. So wrapping this up, to me, I think Predict will be joining the ranks of Fantasy Top in terms of viral apps on Blast. And this is just an incredible example of how to use Blast primitives of native yield and gas fee sharing to ultimately create a superior user experience for end users. And I'll even put out a crazy take and prediction, which is by this time next year, if not sooner, I actually think Predict.Fun will flip Polymarket. As it becomes more and more battle tested, I don't see why Predict couldn't flip Polymarket in terms of volume and TVL. Polymarket was founded in 2020, and it has proven that there is product market fit for prediction markets and has been insanely successful, especially this year as we get closer and closer to the US election. And Predict, as the underdog, in order to get any meaningful market share, is going to need to innovate. And this is something that the team understands deeply. From their perspective, they want to push what is possible on prediction markets. And from speaking with them, that's exactly what they're going to do. And having native yield already gives them a massive edge. So, farmer hat on, I'll be fucking around with Predict. And if you are too, I'll see you in the trenches. Until the next one, guys, as always, bearish or bullish, keep building, keep farming, keep learning.